Hello to part 15 of the programming stream for the tower defense game. We're getting close to the finish, so I'll be breezing through some extra mechanics that we want to implement in the game. So we'll be adding a little bit of options so we can slowly get to that part. I want to add more towers into the game. That we will use throughout the game. Where are we? If we go to prefabs, did I not? So yesterday I started working on some different tower designs. This is going to be our axe tower, which we'll use. So that's the first thing I'll do is drag in here. And I also had another one, but I guess I just didn't save the actual model. So I'll recreate it in a bit. I'll make a new folder for enemies. And I'll drag the enemy def into particles, enemy into enemies, and tile away. So ignoring the tower part for now, I will be adding a new gameplay mechanic, which is going to be the slow motion effect. For that, in the scripts, in the game manager, I'll add a new script and I'll just call it the slow motion, like so. Now, what this is essentially going to be is a way to slow down time within the game. So first thing we want to do is we want to create some values. So we will have a slider. We want to have a float of a slow factor. We're gonna default it to 1 because that's the default speed in the game. And then we'll have another one which is the slow rate. And that's by how much we slow down. There we go, like so. With this start, of course, we want to have our slow factor defaulted to 1. And we want to make a new function for updating time. So I'll make a private void update time. And I'll also use update here as update is what's gonna handle the slow in the game. So very first thing that we have to do is we have to make sure our pause menu dot instance dot do we have is paused. We will have to be checking for this because we don't want to let the user lower the speed, modify the speed when the game is paused. So that's something that we'll definitely have to change. Now let's add quickly the slider so we can see what I'm talking about. So in the middle, where are we? Where the pause panel is, let's just disable the pause panel. We will place a new set of UI and it's going to be a slider like so. Let's remove the now what the slider will do is so the minimum is going to be 0 and maximum is going to be 2, so we can change our speed based on that. We will put this in a little panel like we do with everything else. So let's throw up our panel now. And give it some form of an image from the background buttons. like so. Now let's drag, so this is going to be the slow motion panel. What happens if we put the canvas? Because we want it to be on top. It's not. So our slow motion panel is going to be at the top. And now if we enable pause panel, it covers it. Perfect. Because we don't want the user to be able to move the panel when the game is paused. So we will just cover it with the pause. And then I want to have a text which shows the user what exactly they're about to do. So let's set up the points. Like so. And now let's set the text. So speed control, let's call it, move it to the center, make it bold, go with the darkest possible color and make it fill. It's slightly too big, so I'm actually gonna resize it a little bit. There you go, like so. And with this, we have our text slow motion slider, slow motion, like so. With this, we have the slider system complete. Now we just have to code the usage on our slider. So firstly, let's add a function which will say private void time manager. So time manager is going to be what? Time scale is equal to our slow factor. So whatever this value is what we will have here. And of course, like I said before, if dot is equal to false, only then we can call our slow factor, as we don't want to be changing the time of the game when the slow is in effect. So that's now with that done, all we really have to do is add a functionality which will update our slow based on our values. And to add a little bit of extra functionality, I'll also add two functions which will let us use keys. So an update, we'll just do update time. And here we will add two sets of inputs. So if input.get key down and then key code right arrow, then we can do a function which is going to be our private void on click right, and we'll also do private void on click left, like so. So this is the slow-mo function using the right arrow, and we'll do the same for left arrow. So we'll do on click right, and then we'll do another one which is going to be for our left arrow, like so. With this, we have the full functionality of our clicking. We just need to add a little bit of code to each one of these. So for the left click, since that takes away, we'll put a slow factor minus equals slow rate. And then if our slow factor is smaller than 0, then we of course want to set it to 0 so we don't go beyond 0. And then on click right, we will do the reverse of that. So we will do slow factor plus equals slow rate, like so. And then if our slow factor is higher than, and let's just set it as 2. So 2 times speed will be the fastest speed we can set the game to, then slow factor is equal to 2, like so. The time manager will constantly update this. so you don't have to worry about calling it anywhere else. And now all that's left is for us to do the slider. So on value changed, we will simply have to call a function. So let's put a public void on slider modified. And what we will do here is actually, yeah. So what we'll do here is we'll do our slow factor is equal to, and then we get our slow slider dot value, like so. So this sets the time to our slow factor. It sets our slow factor based on the slider value. What we actually also want to do is here, when we use the right and left click, we want to update the value of the slow slider. So what we'll do here is, at the end, we'll do our, where are we? Slow slider dot value is equal to our slow factor when we use the arrows. In fact, we can put this in a function, update slider, like so, and then call update slider here and here, like so. Updates the value of a slider, then handles right and left arrow inputs, as well as updates the time, like so. Runs every second. Well, it's every frame. Initializes the slow factor value to default. The reference to the slider on the UI. Value that handles speed of the game. And finally, the rate at which the left and right buttons function, like so. And now all we have to do is just finish this off by getting our slow motion, dragging in our slider. Now with our slider, we will select our slow motion script, and we will use the on slider modified here. And now let's give this a try and see if it works. So let's start the wave, and oh, it's actually not working, which is interesting. Let's start. That is actually very interesting. So let's check out what we're doing wrong. For now, let's disable the slider and press play. Why am I still changing the slider? Oh. Is it because this is incorrect? Where is pause menu? How did I set up this paused? Wait, do our enemies move with time.delta time? That's the real question. I know that bullets do. So let's press a button, and the game should be stopped at this point, which stops the enemies, but it doesn't stop the game. So it's actually not running the code properly. So when we press play, its pause is set to what? It's set to false. Our slow motion does what? If our is set to false, then time scale is equal to our slow factor. Let's change it to 0. That should automatically stop the game by the first time we run update. Interesting. It's not reading the script at all. Oh, we're actually getting an error. Maybe that's why. No, it's running this. Yeah, I know it can't be less than 0. Oh, that's weird. Let's ignore the update slider entirely for now. I'm kind of putting too much time into something I didn't really want to. Okay. Oh, maybe pause menu is just canceling it out without me realizing. No, it shouldn't. Okay. Let's just slap it into update. Maybe I attached the script in more than one place. What's game speed? Oh my god. Our slow motion script is our game speed. That's why. That's silly of me. Okay. You know what? Let's change this around then. Since I have 2 sets of that script, let's remove the game speed. Now that makes sense. That's why it didn't work. I already started working on it before. Well, that means everything should work fine. We just have 2 sets of scripts. One was disabling, one was enabling it. Well, I was right. At the very least. Okay. So now if we go into our UI and we lower, there we go. So it does work properly. So let's enable our slider on value change again. On slider modified. Let's give this a try. So first, play the game with the slider. So there you go. We can change the speed. We can also change it with the buttons, which is great. Wait, is it just me or did it really shift a lot? So on start, we actually have to do one more thing, and that's slow slider dot value is equal to slow factor. So when we start, it sets it to 1 by default. Okay, so that's wrong. Why is it down like this? Right, plus equal to slow rate, which should be by 0.1. Where is our slider? What if we slightly disable these two functions? I feel like they might not even be necessary. And slider just automatically, no, it doesn't. Okay. Nah, I'm gonna remove the arrow functions. There is no point to add an arrow function where everything else in the code doesn't do that. Alright. Every other function is done by mouse, so it's weird to add key binds to other elements of the game. There you go. So now we can control how fast the game goes. Um, oh. So actually, since we're calling this here, we no longer need to change timescale in our resuming and stopping. Now our pause doesn't have to handle it at all because we care more about the slider value than we do about the actual speed of the game. So I think this is better. It's better not to have the code conflict itself in multiple areas. And after slowing, it's not like we want to go back to 1, we want to go back to our slow factor instead. So that is ticked off now. For the towers, what do we have here? I want to have a description bar for all of them, and I want to make some extra towers within the game. So let's design some of the towers that I wanted to add, make them work within the game. So let's just use the basic tower, as it's a good tower to use as a base. So let's unpack this prefab. So how many towers do I want? I want to have the spike tower. I want to have the chaining tower. I want to have the 2 sets of the passive towers that don't do any damage. So 4 extra towers. So let's call this the area shot or multiple direction shooting chain electric shots tower, the range boost tower, and finally damage boost tower. So we'll have two towers that don't do any damage, but help other towers do extra damage, so you can place them on the outskirts, where a normal tower wouldn't have any range. You also need to add a display to show how big the range is for each tower. Okay. So firstly, let's add multiple direction shooting. So for this one, what I'll do first is I will drag these together into the rotator. Yep. For the rotator itself, I'll change this from a cube to a sphere, like so. And with this, I will lower down the plate, so it's way smaller, like this. This is going to be really small looking tower. The rotator itself will go lower into it, and this will change its size significantly, like so. Now that I have this, I will duplicate this once, turn around. What do we have? So it's going to be a 190. There we go. With this done, I'll now select both of them, duplicate, and set them exactly around like this. So that gives us 4 shots, but we want to have, there we go, shots in every direction, like so. So it's just going to spike out bullets. And let's save this prefab. We will work on it later. Okay, next tower is the chain tower. I actually don't have any ideas for the chain tower design just yet, and I don't plan on working on it anytime soon. So let's leave it as it is. The range boosting tower. So first thing we'll do is we'll add a little. I've got an idea. So for the damage boosting tower, we'll make it so you can only boost damage if you select target. So that's going to be slightly more unique than the other ones. Whereas for this one, we don't need any of these guys. What we will do add is little cubes. Make them way smaller, and those will look like little poles. And just place them at top in each corner. Yep, let's make it 0.1 and 0.1, so it's a proper square. I'm just going to duplicate this 1, 2, 3, 4, like so. Those are going to be the signal line. I'm going to drag it into the rotator. The rotator will have a rotator script attached to it. And I believe we need to, yeah. However, what we'll actually extend to our rotator is we'll do private float rotation value. And for rotation value, I'll call it rotation value y, and I'll put it in here. And by default, we'll set it to 45, but for this one, we'll make it way slower. So our other script that uses rotation will be, wait, let's default this. Let's just do this one little trick. So first and then I will use a serializable field now again. So it's actually 45 by default. I like how it changes it to 10. What else uses rotation? Oh, I know, the enemies do use the rotator. No, actually, what I'll do is, to make this better, rotate. So we'll have rotation value y. I'm going to add rotation value x and rotation value z, just in case we need to ever use it for anything else. There we go. All of these will be serializable, and they can be changed. Whoa. In their respective areas. With this, it's going to be easier to handle for anything that uses other. There we go. So now the rotator script will be more useful. So there you go. So for this one, we just want the y. We'll keep this to 10. And that's that done. So apart from coding in how this tower has to operate, it's as good as done. And for the damage boosting tower, we will actually keep the original design because that's all the towers we really want. So I'll call this actually, no, I still want to unpack this prefab, call it, rename damage booster. So what damage booster will do is it will shoot at a specific tower and it will give it a boost of damage. Okay, so let's move on to our first tower that we want to add, and that's going to be our, where are we? The axe throwing tower. So since we're here, we're going to go into our little scriptable tower, and there's some changes to our base tower that we need to add. So we have the name description, we have a little bit of values here, but we actually need a little bit more. So what we also need is bullet flow, bullet speed. That's actually important for some of the towers. It's a value that we don't want to see outside. Actually, bullet speed will not change at all, but it's something that we will keep in. So we want to see how fast the bullet will go, how much it costs to upgrade to next tier. We have the description now. I believe, yeah, this is sufficient, and we need a way to display the range of our tower, but I can leave that for a little bit later. So with this done, let's make some more towers in our scriptable towers. So let's have a look at this. Are they all numbered? Yep. So ID 4 next. So next tower will be our Axe tower 5. After Axe tower, number 6 is going to be our, let's call it the stationary spikes. What else? We have the lightning chain. So we have the lightning chain, the static one. What else did we make? There goes the great memory of mine. Did I change the number? No, I didn't. 7, 8. Prefabs. Towers. So what do we have? We have the damage boost and the signal boosting as well. So we'll have the range booster, and finally damage booster, which is going to be our number 9. So let's call it damage booster, range booster, stationary spikes. So this is going to be, I don't know, I have no idea how to call this one. Boost range of the nearby towers. Chains lightning to nearby enemies. Fast firing projectiles. Slow firing projectiles. Tower named the axe throwing tower. Burn tower that deals burn damage over time. Cannon tower does large splash damage to enemies. And then the damage boosts damage of specific tower, of selected tower. This tower slows down the enemies. There we go. So we've got a description, apart from this one. Okay, let's forget about the name for that one and the descriptions. So let's keep working on this, the spiky one. Actually, we can modify everything that we want for these guys. So we're gonna drag that in. We don't need any animations for that. Bullet pool is something that we will have to do in a second. But essentially, there is no change for this tower in terms of code when comparing to the other ones. So I'm actually going to leave this one out and do our multiple direction shooting tower first. That's because this is the most unique tower in terms of code that we'll have. So instead of having a tower, we will actually create a new class that will inherit from it, because we need to change how. So firing mode is unnecessary for this tower, and as well as what we have. But what we will use for this tower is we will change the shoot. There will be no aiming done in this tower. At all. We will actually remove rotator from this specific tower. So first, let's create a new script in our towers folder, and that's going to be the stationary tower. I'm going to call it stationary because it's the only tower that doesn't actually rotate. And I want it to inherit from tower, like so. And now I will remove the tower script and add the stationary tower. Now, one thing that I'll add to aiming is if rotator is not. So there are two things that we don't want to do if we don't have a rotator. One is we don't want to aim. Basically, we don't want to do the entire process of aiming and finding the type. So if rotator is equal to is not equal to null, because then we can just skip through both of these, because that means that our tower is not going to rotate in any way whatsoever. So there is no point for it to look for targets to shoot, because it uses an entirely different system. So now in the stationary tower, there we go. So now we don't need to have anything in the rotator or the target. We will still set the enemy layer, and we will set the base to our stationary spikes. Actually, we can just shoot out spikes. That sounds like a cool idea. Whereas for the muzzle, well, this is where we're going to have our biggest change of code. So right now, muzzle is a single object, but I will change it to a array. And this will create a lot of errors throughout the code, which is fine. So what I'll do here is, to each one of these, I'll set it at the 0th muzzle. It's because all of our default bullets will only have one muzzle, so we'll only grab the one at array 0. But where are we? So that means we need to fix every single tower now, because they're all broken. Now let's go here. So what's that? That's our, and there you go, freeze tower. That's also fixed now. So now our reference to the muzzle is gone. So if we go into every single tower, prefabs towers, we'll see that they're missing a muzzle, but that just means I need to, where are we? There we go. We just need to reattach a new muzzle, which I'll do later. I don't want to put time into this just yet. And now that we have this, we can continue with making the stationary tower. So for the stationary tower, let's select it, go into muzzle, and grab every single muzzle that we have and drag it in. I'm going to open this. I'm going to lock it. 1 muzzle, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 8th, 9. Now, if all of these selected, I'm going to drag them in. So now we have every single muzzle selected. And the biggest change will be from, oh, I didn't open the tower class. Where are we? So now if we open the tower class and we go into our shoot, we'll be changing how shoot works. So public override shoot. We don't want to do the base shoot at all. We just want to do our own shoot. So let's copy this entire code over, because to an extent, actually, I don't think we even need to do that. No, we do, because this will be very much different. So firstly, we don't have a target, so we don't need a target to be present. There is no need for a target, we just shoot every now and then. Now, let's get rid of anything that's... Let's just comment out all the errors. Okay, so time elapsed is and rate of fire is currently an error, but that's fine. We will set them so they're available. So rate of fire has to, wait, I think it already is. No, time elapsed. So our time elapsed has to now become, there we go, like so. And rate of fire capitalized. Of course, we do have to change for our bullet pool. without bullet pulling, there is no way to fire. So let's get our bullet pull in. Perfect. Particle. Will we have particle? Maybe. So that means for now we're just gonna get rid of it. Forget about the particle, forget about the particle. Actually, let's delete the particle and animation stuff for now. Now here is where we'll have a load change. So we'll do 4 each muzzle. So we'll do muzzle.length, and this is where we're gonna pull our bullet. So we will copy and paste all of that in here. And what's gonna happen is muzzle at I. Of course, muzzle has to be capital. So does bullet pull. Now with this, what happens is we create a new bullet for every single muzzle. We set it to its position and its rotation. We set the bullet to true. We then will grab the correct component of the bullet, which we don't have yet because we haven't done the bullet, and then it will fire. As for the animation, we will probably add it in as well and just slap it inside of here. So let's make our bullet. Add the animations at the end, I guess. And make a bullet for our tower. So let's go into our prefabs for our bullets. Just drag one in. Oh. I just want to put a bullet next to a tower to see what it looks like. Okay, like so. So for this specific bullet, I want to unpack this and change it to the spike bullet. Now, kind of at the bottom of the hierarchy. So cannon bullet will be removed. So will be the sphere collider. And what I want to add is 2 sets of cubes. Basically, I just want to create 2 sets of cubes. So a cube, make it much smaller, and now let's stretch it out like so. And then create a second one, rotate it 90 degrees, like so. And then that's going to be our spike 1, spike 2. I will not have any collision on these, so I'll remove it. And I will add them, actually, now that I have them. Go on, don't be inside of each other. Let's add a new material for it. Let's do it like this. And then for our spike, let's add another one, but turn this one like so. Now that we have both of them, we're gonna put them into our bullet and scale our bullet down a little bit. Like so. There we go. And we have our spike bullet. We will remove the mesh off of this. So there is nothing here. Remove, and now we can add a new script for our own bullet. So let's open up the original bullet and see what it looks like. Where are we? So what does the original bullet do? So it has a trail, well, can have a trail, has the default disable, which is what we would want in a new bullet. We will not use set bullet target. So what we'll actually do is we'll add a null here. That means that it's an optional field for our tower. So in the stationary tower, now we can grab these guys. So the damage will of course be damage, and however, we will not put anything in the second field. Since it's a default to null, it means it's not necessary to have. but that also means that we would instantly run into a disable bullet, which is what we don't want to happen. So rather than that, we will get rid of this line at all, simply because we already have a disable bullet being called on our invoke, which could be slightly shorter, to be honest. Now, what we will do though is we will run, so we'll need a new set of bullet travel. So let's create our spike bullet. And we want to inherit off of bullet. So let's have a look. So first thing we want to do is the bullet travel has to be completely changed. So public override bullet travel, and we don't want to use the base. We want to completely change that function. On collision, handle collision, we will change as well, simply because I expect this to hit other stuff than the bullet, so we'll just let it fly through. So what we just want is this line of code without the second line of code. So public override handle collision, and for our handle collision we will only run this set of code, and then we can leave everything else as it is. Well, actually, we'll let our bullet travel a specific distance, but we will not disable it at all. That means that this bullet will keep traveling through multiple enemies. Actually, no, that'll be too strong. Let's disable it anyway. So yeah, this will just travel, disable if necessary, and for our travel, this is where we will have the code different, because all we want to do is make it travel in a straight line. So what we'll do is we'll add a vector free, and we're going to call it start position. And in start, oopsie daisy. Did I just delete? Yeah. So on enable, our start position is going to be equal to this.transform.position. So this is where our bullet originates from, and our start position.transform. Should we change this to transform? Do we have a bullet speed? Yes, we do. And we're going to do time.delta time plus transform.forward, like so. And does this have to be a vector tree? It has to be a vector tree. No? Okay, let's just do this.transform.position. Where are we getting a problem? We get the transform.position plus speed times time. Oh, goddammit. So we can do it this way. Okay, let's give this a try, see if this bullet will work. So what this should do is it should shoot out a multiple spike bullets that will go all around. Right now they have no collision set to them, so that's something I'll do in a second. So let's add our spike bullet. For now, there's no need for a trail, so we'll leave it as blank. Where are we? Where's the other bullets? Kind of want to make sure they have everything that the bullet should have. So it needs to have a collider and a bullet script. It needs to be set as a bullet, which is already done. So collision. So let's call it. Let's just get a sphere collider. Make it bigger, like so. Maybe actually even. Maybe let's make it a box collider instead. And now that it's a box collider, I can make it a longer than what it would be normally. Like so. There we go. Let's give this a try. Drag it into as prefabs. And we're going to test it in a second. Oh, trigger. And trigger. Okay, so now let's go into our game manager and we need some more pools. So we need to create 2 empty objects. So we need a axe pool and we need this spike pool, spike bullet pool. Wait, no, I don't have to do that. Here, I need to make our pulling script inside of our tower instead. So I need to add an empty. No, I just need to add the pulling script to our object here. Is that how I did it with the other towers? I presume I did. Where are we? Let's check a tower that actually is finished. How did I do it? Oh, I just add a pull script separately, but I could have just attached it to the object itself. Okay, well, whatever. Let's do it that way too. So let's add an empty, and that's going to be the bullet pool. And add pulling. Drag in our pulling into the script. Get our correct game object, which is going to be our I guess not. Prefabs, 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 bullets. Spike prefab attached. Since we all keep shooting, let's actually give away more for this one. And we have pulling. I guess that's everything for now. Apply. I actually want to do one change to the tower, because right now the towers won't shoot if there's no animation, and I want some towers to be with animations. So let's just change that. Oh, where are we? No, is it not here? I swear I had it. If bullet pull is not null, oh yeah, that has to be here. I swear I had that somewhere. Oh well. Let's give this tower a quick try though. So what this actually should do is, off the bat, without finding enemies, it should work in a scene. Because this tower doesn't have to be actually placed. So let's give this a play and see if it's gonna work. Ooh. And it does create them downwards, and it does it way too quickly. So, that's because we didn't set up any rate of fire for this tower, did we? So we need to set up some stats for this tower. So let's set up bullet speed, which doesn't matter yet because we're not actually changing the bullet speed. So rate of fire, let's set it to 2, 1.8, and 1.5 at the end. Damage is going to be something like 15, 20, 25. Range, we can keep it to 3. I don't think range does anything. Leave the upgrade cost as 0 for now. So this is going to be the spike tower. Let's call it spike tower. Shoots in several directions. Shoots in several directions, like so. Index was out of an array. Boop. And what are we doing? We keep spawning towers. Thank you very much. So we do have some huge problem with this tower. Why do you have an error? Tower to place is going to be... Where's the spike tower? Just random texture for now. Why are you being problematic? Oh. But it's still spawning these guys like crazy. So let's just go into here. Oh, wow. I disabled a piece of code that shouldn't have been disabled. And we still poop out. Of course we do. One more try. Okay, perfect. So we do shoot every now and then. Of course, now there is a problem with the muzzles facing in the wrong direction. We don't need slow ray anymore because we did remove this functionality. So let's go into our rotator and rotate the muzzles. Yeah, so muzzles are all looking down for some reason. So let's move them around to a -90 on each and single one of them. Position, so rotation -90. Actually, is it going to be -90 for all of them? Yep. Okay, with this done, let's apply this. Press play. Straight away, move the tower. Okay. So there we go. We have our little effect. Let's give this a... Let's start a wave of enemies and see how it's going to work. So I feel like it needs to shoot faster. Okay. I actually see another problem. So the actual tower itself has to be... The box collider is too high. So the box collider has to change its position, like so. Okay. Because this is a smaller tower. And like I originally said with the bullets, we need to increase their spacing. So let's just move the tower again to that place we had before. When it gets placed, it should get placed around here. Looks pretty cool with the bullets flying around. Let's go into spike, tower, bullet. So bullet speed we will lower down to 5 for now. And the actual bullet itself, actually, let's pause it first and then see on which side. Right, let me show. Okay, so that's perfect. We just need to make it placeable. I'll make it placeable now. And then we can, well, not now because it's the hour is up, but yeah. Next, we'll make sure that all of these towers work as they should. I'll do some balancing of the stream, as that's just playing around with values like I did just now. And then for next part, we can move on to the next set of towers, as well as the options.